We do want to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we stand today, and pay our respects to elders past and present and the elders from other communities who may be here today. Recognise our First Nations people. They had a terrible time when people arrived here in 1778, I think it was. So we do have to, I think, really think about the things that they were doing as the longest culture basically on the earth, and we're very privileged as all Australians to be able to learn. And yes, I'll be able to stop. So let's do some introductions. So just to introduce me, I'm labelled the Chief Executive Officer, Andrew McDonnell. So obviously my background is I'm a paramedic. I was a paramedic in the emergency system far too long. I was there for 33 years. Also couldn't stop myself from studying, so I did what's called a Physician Associate program, which I did at the medical school in UQ, so I have a medical qualification. And I also did nursing many moons ago. I'm only one of two Chief Executive Officers. We have Rani Wilkinson, who has a registered nursing background, and there's me. The concept of a male and a female is that there's equal gender decision making, and so we share that gender decision making. So we're not conscious of it, can I just say, all the time. So it's not like there's something being done, we suddenly say, well, from a male perspective, it should be from this, from a female perspective, from this, from other gender perspective, it should be that. We don't say that. We work, and by collaborating, we naturally come up to a really good solution. One of the examples is Mara, who I'll introduce in a minute, is able to bring her baby with her today. Okay, so we're trying to be progressive, and we're trying to be flexible, and we're trying to do a really good workplace balance. Unfortunately, Rani couldn't come down today. Rani lives at Beechworth, and as you can see, we've got people spread across the state. I'd like to, I'll start with Ash because she's up here. It's paramedic Ash. Ash has a background as a paramedic, and Ash is a really incredible person in the sense that she was the first school paramedic. So Ash has worked in Coburg High School as the school paramedic. Traditionally you'd hear of school nurses. Well, Ash worked as a school paramedic at Coburg High School, and just really starting with us on nearly a full-time basis, 32 hours a week basis, and bringing those components from the school, mental health, social disadvantage, etc., and bringing that into our organisation. Ash is initially doing some marketing and promotion components, and also is going to be developing over time what's called HMS Youth, where we can hopefully prevent people in the future from who need assistance from getting in there early. At the back there's Jill. Jill has a nursing background originally and then moved into counselling, and is amazing when we do palliative care and amazing when we do a lot of things. Jill also pro bono provides us with a staff support system, so if people are having problems, get to know Jill, and you can actually talk to Jill. So if you come across something, that there is the support there. Peter, next to Jill, has also got a counselling background, and Peter and Jill are married. So again, Peter provides, which is a fantastic thing. And they've been married for a long time, which is very unusual. So Peter also is trained in counselling and will support, but Peter also helps with our cyber security. So managing our system, because we don't want to do a Medicare where your notes are suddenly on the black web or something, and we're being bribed. And Peter keeps us intact with us, assists us with our IT. So we sound like a massive organisation. We're not. We're a very small organisation. We're evolving at the moment.
Handling sensitive information of our people, patient notes, things like that. We don't use the P word, sorry Andrew. We use Clinico, as you mentioned, which is a cloud app. We use Microsoft 365, so that gives you email, SharePoint, which is file storage, Teams for collaboration. So you need to know a bit about how we handle that information securely. So what are we talking about? What sort of information? Pretty obvious. This is taken from Australian government privacy legislation. So obvious things that are sensitive to an individual. And then there are a few things that are even more sensitive. Let me just have a quick look through that list. So that just gives you an idea of some of the things you may be coming across. And we have an obligation to protect that. What happens if we don't protect it? Well, identity theft is a big thing at the moment, as you've probably heard in the news. Extortion, there was a case in Europe where hackers got into a psychology service and stole the patient notes, and then contacted all the patients saying, if you don't pay us, we will release all your confidential discussions with your psych to the public. So extortion, in some cases, especially if somebody is a domestic violence victim, for example, who has left, it can threaten their physical security if their location is divulged. And for HMS, reputational and legal consequences. Okay, so what sort of nasty things can happen? So in yellow is the risk, and in white are some very quick bullet points on things to consider to mitigate the risk, to reduce the risk. You cannot eliminate the risk in cybersecurity. I'm a firm believer after 40 years in corporate technical IT, which has made me quite paranoid about security and a love-hate relationship with computers, but this is what I've discerned over the years. And this is a cut-down presentation of what I normally give. We found it was terrifying too many people, so we cut it. Your devices, your laptops or your phones can be lost, stolen or infected, which is my biggest worry, because you'll be using your own personal devices, and I have no idea what you download on your personal devices and what other family members have access to play games and things. So we don't issue everyone with company laptops. So if you're still running Windows XP or Windows 8 or something old like that, please update it. We're up to Windows 11 now, far more secure. And there's a feature on it called BitBlocker, which encrypts your disk drive, which guards against the information being accessed if your laptop is lost or stolen. Make sure you've got a strong PIN on your phone. I'll talk a bit later about strength of PINs and passwords. Keep all those annoying software updates up to date. They're actually closing holes that the hackers use to get in. They're bugs that have been found that the hackers have been using, so the software companies issue updates. So keep everything up to date. Back up your data if you don't want to lose it, and ideally encrypt it with a password, again, so that the sensitive data isn't lost. And we'll talk a bit about managing passwords securely as well. As I mentioned, with BYO device, as we say, sharing is not caring. We don't want teenage family members accessing any sensitive information that's on your device, say patient notes. So we ask you to remove any sensitive information after you've uploaded it to Clinico. Phishing, I suppose most of you have heard about phishing or smishing, which is the SMS variant of it. Trying to get you to type in your username and password to a fake login site. There's a thing called two-factor authentication, where the easiest one and not the most secure one, I'm afraid, You used to get you get sent a code, 6-digit code to your phone that you use when you log in. Some of you may have used that. Where you can turn that on any of your logins, please do so. It is essential nowadays to help protect your logins in the cloud. But it is not foolproof, so be suspicious of any message. I don't take any calls, don't believe who they say is calling or who's messaging me. I always say, okay, well, if there's an issue, I'll call your organisation, and that way I know I'm in touch with the true organisation. If you are using two-factor authentication, let's say you're getting SMS messages, if you start getting them in the middle of the night, that's a red flag. It probably means your password's been stolen and the hacker is trying to repeatedly log in and hoping that you'll give up and just say yes, give permission to get in. Check your to address when you're sending emails. Quite often sensitive information is sent outside the company or outside of the intended recipient simply by a typo in the to address. And as I said, make sure you take the data off your own personal devices once you've uploaded it to the secure storage of Clinico. In some cases we password protect documents, but you'll be informed of that if you come across it. By the way, if you hate computers and don't know how to use them, don't worry, that's what I'm here for. I'll take you through the basics, remotely get into your machine if necessary to help you out. So don't be panicked by any of this. So there's a website run by an Australian security researcher that has become almost a global reference. Even law enforcement are starting to use it. Pwned is hacker slang for owned or hacked. And this researcher collects all of the stolen passwords he finds on the dark web, or email addresses and passwords that he finds on the dark web. And what you can do, if you go to that website, or if you're really high-tech, you can pull that up on your phone right now and type in your email address, and it will tell you if that email address has been seen on the dark web. So let's say you've used that email address.
Fascinating.
Let's say you've used your email address to register for the library, let's say. And the library's been hacked. So the hacker now has your email address and the password you used at the library. That will hopefully show up on this website. It's not 100% complete, of course, but it's a pretty good indication of what goes on out there. So, do we have any winners?
I've got 8 other breaches.
There you go.
I've got 4.
Yeah.
Oh, same thing happened to me when Peter told me this.
So, if you scroll down, you'll see the breaches in which your email address has appeared. So that's something you've registered to at some stage, often years ago, or it could be something that a service provider you use has used. For instance, there was one which the name escapes me at the moment, but it was a cloud service that Bunnings used for the click and collect during COVID. So you may have given your email address to COVID and you never registered with this company, but Bunnings were using it in the background, and so your email address has appeared there. If you have been breached, the important thing is to change that password on that account and anywhere else you have used the same password. Now this leads us to the issue of reusing passwords. If you use the same password in the library as you use on your email, let's say, or your internet banking, then if the library gets hacked, the hacker has the log-on details for your email, for your banking, etc. So really, you need to use a different password for every site. And that's where password managers come in, and we'll talk about a little bit about that in a minute. So that's what this exercise is all about, is saying, yes, you've probably been breached already and you didn't know it, and that's why passwords are so important, and using unique passwords on different sites. Any questions on that, on the concept? Okay. So that's called password reuse, and the hackers will try using that combination on Facebook, email, all these sorts of sites, seeing if they can get in with those stolen credentials. They may try to get your password reset if you've used easy security questions. Some sites ask for security questions, mother's maiden name, things like that, and you can use that to reset your password if you've forgotten about it. So make sure those security questions aren't easy, that they're not readily available on social media. You haven't given that information away, because they do use that to try to reset your passwords. Sometimes I ring the help desk trying to impersonate you, saying, I forgot my password, can you reset it please? So again, why you should try to protect your personal information, not just give it out there on social media. And brute forcing of weak passwords. So if you use a password like password 1, that's no obstacle to the hackers, because they load whole dictionaries into their hacking software, and they try every combination, every word, and then they uppercase things and lowercase things and put exclamation marks at the end of all of these words. So don't use an English word. And common passwords like password 1 is another thing they'll just try. If they've got your email address, they'll try all the common passwords, and they maintain these dictionaries of thousands of top 10,000 most common passwords that people use on the internet. And this is all done in software. It's not somebody typing it in. It's a program that's trying all these combinations. Which leads us to, well, how strong is a strong password? Do you think 6 random, totally random characters would make a strong password? Not an English word, just gibberish. How long would that take to get hacked? If you go to this website, it gives you an indication of how long a typical password will take to be hacked. So that will take 7 milliseconds, 7,000ths of a second on average to hack. Okay, we forgot that we need to add symbols and numbers and upper and lower case to make it really hard. How long will that take? A bit harder, 5 seconds to crack. Okay, let's go to 8. 8 hours, we're getting somewhere. We can see length matters, but it's still an overnight run for the hackers program. Okay, let's go to 10. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so really your password should be at least 10 totally random characters. But they do need to be random. If you're lazy and you just run your finger across the top 10 characters of the keyboard, that's one of the ones they know. That's one of the common ones. Okay, so we do have to take passwords seriously. I've taken the slide out on password managers. So a password manager is an app that you can get on your phone typically, or on your laptop, that you store all of your various passwords in, and you have one master password to get into that. Some people say, but isn't that a risk? Because if they get the master password, then they've got all of your passwords. True, which is why I don't put my full password in my password manager. I use the password manager to generate at least 10 random characters, and then I copy that out of the password manager, paste it into the login, and then add something on the end in my head. So if they crack my password manager, they haven't cracked all my passwords. They've only got part of all of my passwords. But you really need to do that nowadays in order to manage the threat environment. Any questions on that so far? So,
Peter, I've got one question.
Yeah.
Do you have specific authenticator apps that you recommend?
they're all pretty much the same in terms of the algorithms that they use. So the most common two-factor method is SMS, but what happens is the hackers will, if they can get enough of your details, they'll, let's say I'm with Telstra, they'll go into a Telstra shop and say, hi, I'm Peter Gray, here's my details, I want I've got a new phone and I want a little nano SIM, one of the smaller ones, because my other phone was an old one, it's got a bigger SIM. And so I'll give the hacker, if they can convince them, they're me, they'll give the hacker the SIM, so the hacker has access to my phone service. So my phone will go no service, it'll come up on his phone and he'll get the SMS. So there's a few variations on that sort of technique. They may go into a Vodafone store and say, hi, I'm Peter Gray, I'm with Telstra, I want to change to Vodafone, can you give me a new SIM? Same thing, gets control of my phone number. So, the next best thing are authenticator apps. So these were in my longer presentation, but I had to take it out because of time restrictions. So authenticator apps look like this. So they're the digits, the codes that change every minute. So instead of getting an SMS, I just look up the account that I'm logging into and there's the code, and this is synchronized to the cloud server that you're logging into. So that's a more secure way of having that second factor. And the third way is you can actually get little physical USB thingies that plug into your phone. They worry me because the risk of losing them, because you can lock yourself out of your accounts. By the way, if a hacker does get into your email account, it's the keys to the kingdom, because not only can they see all of the information you've been sending, quite often people will be applying for jobs, so they'll be sending passport photos via email, that's left in your sent folder. So when they get in, they actually download all your sent folders and things like that and then start trawling through them, looking for information. The other thing they do is, because most of your logins on the internet to other portals are based on your email address, they'll go to all those portals and they'll put in your email address, they don't know your password, but they'll click forgot password. So the password reset email comes back to the email account that they're in. So you really do have to protect your email accounts nowadays. They're the keys to the kingdom. So, be suspicious, be paranoid, like me, but that would impact your mental health. Be suspicious, use strong, unique passwords, and therefore you may need a password manager. If you don't want to use a password manager, that's okay. Write them down in a book and put them in a safe or something like that. Two-step authentication, back up your data, and keep things up to date. Any questions? Anyone
Got anything else to say?
I was going to say, anyone need any counselling there? And this is the cut down version.
I can see why you cut it down.
Yeah. It's intimidating when you don't realise.
Yeah.
It is, because unless
Yeah.
you're you and you're in this, it's impossible to keep up to date. with
That's the
this.
problem. It is invisible.
Mm.
It is impossible even for a professional to keep fully up to date, because
So it just
it
becomes
is so complex, it is so fast moving and dynamic. You just get, as a professional, as you get to understand one system, they go and change it. There's always change, everything's evolving
But
so
for
quickly.
all of us that are just starting this job, we're going to get a lot of emails from people that we maybe don't know, and messages and phone calls, initially.
Yeah,
sending.
so anything that involves, don't click on links. So if you get an email that says, hey, there's been a problem with your email account, click here to log in and fix it, don't click on the link. Go to your browser, go to that site and log in directly yourself. Okay, never click on links. If in doubt, send them to me. I'll tell you if they're legit or not. But it is hard, and that's why
We have
Lots of
the-
people are getting hacked. That's why billions of dollars is being lost worldwide to hackers. It's happening every day, but it's invisible to most people. I mean, it's only just started to reach the public consciousness with the Medibank and Optus hacks, but it's been going on for years before then. But most people just weren't aware of it.
Can I tell you a small story?
Sure.
The IT department that we had in Dubai at my last job, they weren't very good.
Uh-huh.
We got hacked and
Yep.
all our patient data
Yep.
went somewhere. But they sent us they told us like, don't click on links and all this, but then
Yep.
they sent us a link to training,
Yes.
IT training.
Yes, yes.
And they were like getting really annoyed that no one had done the training.
Yeah.
Because we're like, well, we're not.
You told us not to click on links, exactly.
Yeah.
It can't be real, like they're just testing us. They're not really real.
Exactly. It is so
The
hard.
percentage of people clicked on a link and messed up.
Yeah.
And no one did it.
Exactly.
And they were like, come on guys, you really got to do the training. We're like, we're not clicking on any links.
You learned.
Exactly. They tell you not to click on links and then they give you a link.
We're like,
Um,
guys, this is.
I used to work for a bank and talking with the fraudies there, the fraud people, saying, oh yeah, we have to ring all these customers because they've been hacked. And I said, well, when you ring them, what do you say? He says, well, first we have to verify that they are who they say they are. So we ask them for their name, address and date of birth. I said, how do they know you are the bank?
Yeah.
You're teaching them to do.
To give the details.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's so much of that sort of thing goes on that people just don't stop. And as I said, you can't eliminate the risk, you can only reduce it. There are companies that spend millions of dollars every year and have hundreds of staff, and it's a full-time battle to keep the hackers out. And having worked in an organisation on the front line and that sort of thing, your constant worry is if it's quiet, it's, well, what are we missing?
Yeah.
Because it is so hard to find the hackers in your network. So yes, it is a big problem. It is very difficult for the average person, such as yourself. But yes, some basic precautions. Take your password seriously. Use your two-factor and be suspicious of everything. The hackers are very good social engineers. They'll try to really con you, give you a pretext that seems legitimate. And it's human nature. I mean, some people, I know someone who did the click on the link training and then got an email about a parcel and clicked on the link. Why'd you do that? Well, I'm expecting a parcel, So it's human nature. That's what the hackers are leveraging against us. Okay, any other questions?
That is just consulting us on Signal, asking for help, and we can try and get someone out there and just ask for help. Always doing a risk assessment when you're out in the community. If you don't feel safe, don't go in. Give us a call and we'll sort something out. Same if you don't feel safe with a client or group, get out, give us a call. We'll check in to make sure you're okay, because you're important. In trouble, get out, call police. And we have activated duress alarm, so we do use an app, and the app is called...
Mara, do you mind if I just say something?
Yes, please.
Your safety is really, really important. And I just want to say that bottom highlighted thing, if you choose not to see someone, we will always support that decision. We don't care. We're not there.
Recommend you download is the Daniel Walton Foundation app, which is just an app that will push for help, and that's your duress button when you're out visiting our people. The Signal app. And then you get invited into the groups of people that you see. And the Signal app is great. It's we chat about the people that we look after. There's news, there's happy news, there's the rostering updates, and pretty much all our communications go through Signal. We do send the odd email as well. And always just report back to her. I'm always happy for you to give me a call after a shift just to debrief, or we'll often give you a quick Signal message just to check in to see how you went on a shift or if you've had a hard shift. We're always in the background. HR. I'll hand over to Andrew.
So, like all organisations, we're regulated by law, and we have a number of HR procedures and policies which you guys will be given. So we actually give them to you today. Okay? We're trying to be, where possible, as minimum in policies and procedures as possible, because the reality is my former employer, when I was working in a senior management job, there was just over 2,700 procedures in the organisation, and they were used, sadly, for probably not the right thing. So, you know, you've broken this procedure, and I didn't know procedure 1,576 even existed. You know, so we're doing what the banks do. So I think it's the Commonwealth Bank. What they do is every 5 years they go to every department and say they've got to cut their policies back to 20 procedures, because they seem to get up to 150 or something like that. So we're trying to keep minimum, because we don't want you to be protocol. We want to, as we've said, we want you to use your brain, and we want you, if you're not sure what to do, is talk to people. We do obviously have some procedures, because some things need to be procedural. So again, employing people obviously has to be procedural. You know, you can't make that one up every time. But when you're working out in the field, we want you to use your brain, and we don't want you to have to say, oh geez, I've never seen an ulcer on a big toe, I better go and look for the procedure or the protocol or the guideline how to do that. What we want is to say, well, there's something I haven't seen before, so we contact the innovation facilitators, they give us advice, and what we do is we'll work around it. Okay? So they're basically what I'm just going to cover today, and I mean, it's all comes first. As I say, yes, we love our people out there, yes, they sit as number one, but you're evenly number one. Because if we don't look after our staff, then we can't care for people out in the field. That's it. It's nice and simple. The other thing is, as we've talked about, there's flexible hours. We have some people, we've got a retired paramedic who had terrible PTSD. Some weeks he does 2 hours, next week he'll do 25 hours. So we want to be flexible. And that's the same as if you've got kids, friends, whatever, and somebody's graduating at university, it shouldn't be like, well, I'm going to chuck a sickie today because they're not going to let me have time off. Okay? Obviously we'd prefer if you gave us some time, but sometimes you don't have time. And so we want to be flexible, and you do go and see your mate or your friend or your daughter or whatever actually graduate. You know, and not you going, well, I'm taking 8 hours off sick. The other things is we're flexible in terms of health appointments. So for example, say you're rostered on for the day, then we're quite happy for you to say, look, between 10 and 12, I've got to go to the doctor, and go to the doctor. Obviously you won't be paid for it, but I mean, we'd rather you have 2 hours off than you take 8 hours off for something simple. Okay, it just makes common sense. Okay, and what we find, the other thing in flexibility we have is that some people will say, look, I can't do the morning, okay, but can I pick up something between 6 and 8 tonight? You know, so meaning let's talk to the person. Okay, and if they're not a morning shower or something like that, and it's convenient for both of you, you may want to be an afternoon person. Okay, so we try and flex around. Sometimes it does become hard. We've got to be honest about it. Sometimes we've got to compromise with each other, okay? But the target is there. The other thing is at the moment we're paying the best wages we can. We're not here to make a profit, okay? We're actually paying above award wages, and that's deliberate because we want reward. Okay, if you do something, you should be rewarded both in yourself and where possible as much as we can. The key thing I want to say too, we want to celebrate what we achieve. Okay, code of conduct, I'm not going to say much about this. You're going to get the document. A code of conduct's really simple. It says be good, be nice, be moral, be ethical, and don't do bad things. That's it. It doesn't matter what the words say. So if you do something bad, like you try and smother a patient with a pillow, well, it kind of doesn't meet the code of conduct. So are you surprised that you're going to get in trouble? You know, so the answer is the code of conduct, we do have one for our registered staff. We also utilise the APRA code of conducts, which is all available on the APRA sites. If you're in another professional organisation who does professional registration, then again we will utilise their code of conduct. Okay. Bullying and harassment. Now, this is something which gets my hairs on my back of my neck. My former employer, I worked for 30 years being bullied and harassed, and I didn't even know it. Because the reality is that was completely normal. You accepted it. You accepted that at some stage you were going to, the saying we used to say is you're going to get it in the neck. That at some stage you're going to get it in the neck, and there's another ruder saying, which I won't say. But you know, the reality is that it was completely normal. It was normal to be harassed. It was normal to be abused. It was normal to see a female or someone who was gay or something like that. The organisation didn't step in and, you know, protect those people. That won't happen in this organisation. I'll say the biggest thing I'm going to say is, and I nearly cry every time I do it because I didn't realise I was so affected by it until I actually broke down and needed psychiatric care. The biggest thing that I'm going to say is we won't tolerate it, and I will sack you. If I ever hear of it, it won't be the other people who you're working with. I will do it. I will sack you. Okay, I'm not talking about we have a misunderstanding and an argument, and sometimes people think that's bullying. That's not bullying. But if there's repeated horrible things happening and it's really destroying someone, you will be sacked. I want that absolutely clear. It will not be tolerated, and it is not going to be part of the culture of this organisation. This organisation's evolving culture. We don't have a culture. Our culture at this stage is a good, happy culture, and I'm scared as we get bigger that that's potentially at risk, but you guys are the culture, right? You guys are the culture. And so if you accept things, then that's not good enough. Okay, dress code. We don't have a dress code as such. We don't wear a uniform. For the paramedics, we don't have ambulances. Okay, we're trying to stop people from getting into ambulances. Okay, neat and comfortable. The only thing we do ask of the genders is that if you've got long hair, please tie it back, because there's nothing worse than leaning over a wound and not only are you dressing it with some normal sewing on, you're also giving it a wash with your hair as well. So we do ask for people to tie back their hair. Now, when I say that, is if you're going with someone and you're just having a bit of a night, you know, going out for lunch or something nice, or, you know, you're going for an assessment, then maybe it's okay to have your hair down. What we want is common sense. But usually for safety too, we ask people to tie it up, particularly in a community and health sector, because if you've got someone with a disability or a mental health issue, they could reach out. Okay? And it's the same with big dangly ear things. I've seen a young graduate paramedic have half her ear ripped off at a car accident because when she had a big earring, and she come up and there was a bit of metal caught it and she didn't know and she kept going and it just went rip. So again, it's not happy for you to do things, but it comes down to common sense. Okay, I don't care. I don't think any of our organisation cares if you have a ring in your nose or on your tongue or wherever you want to have it. Fine, do it. But just think of the safety side of it. And it's really easy. Just look neat and be comfortable. Okay, particularly with older people, they don't really like, tight clothes, which is the trend at the moment, which is good. So just be aware, right? Because it's about both of us. It's not telling you how to dress, but it's also about respect.
I personally love wearing my scrub top because when I'm in my scrub top, like for me, that's a mental, I'm in work mode and I just wear comfy bottoms.
The other thing is that research is really clear from the UK, and this was research into the first paramedic practitioners going out there. When they wore uniform, people were subordinate, and they didn't respond. They just are, so the paramedics who are really quite bossy, will go trying to get information. When it came down to longer term care like we're providing, the uniform was a disaster because people couldn't interact properly with the paramedic in longitudinal care. So when they removed the uniforms, there was a lot more social interaction. So because the uniforms are power base. Okay, leave. Just quickly, I'm not going to say much about this, but if you're going to be off, please remember to call us. There's nothing worse than somebody not turning up. The reason why is because usually we're worried about you. Okay, so please remember to ring us. The guys have put up a whole lot of things there saying after hours, what will happen is you'll ring and it converts to an email. I don't understand technology, and it sends it to the guys so they know. So please ring them because we know you're safe. All right. And again, if you're going to have holidays, it's really good if you can give us notice. I mean, sometimes it's unavoidable, but if you're going to go away in July and you already booked the cruise, can you let us know? All right, rather than, I'm not going to be here. Okay, complaints and opportunity for improvement. Now, what we're doing with complaints is we're not going to come and see you unless you do pillow over the head. We're not going to come and rip into you because there's always two sides of the story. What we're doing is we're using the Safer Care Victoria model. So Safer Care Victoria has set out some guidelines. They're a government organisation and we're following their guidelines, and the concept is to actually not blame. So it's to actually find out the two sides of the story, and then it's about education. So if you may have been put into a position where you didn't know how to change a peg tube, and you're under a lot of pressure from the person, and sometimes we should say no, but we weaken, and you have a crack at it. And it's the old story, if you get it right, you're a hero. If you get it wrong, you're a villain. Okay, you shouldn't have had a crack at it, right? If you're not trained, if you're trained, go for it. But you're now the villain. The family's complained. So should it be you're stood down and stuff because you haven't done a procedure? What you've been authorised to do? Now the answer to that is what we need to do is find out the truth. And if that is the case where you perhaps were out of your own scope, then we need to educate about boundaries, etc., so it doesn't happen again. Obviously, if there's injury, then we've got a problem because that means external needs to come in and it needs to be reported. But where you haven't caused harm, just emotional problems, then the idea is let's educate around it. Let's support you. Okay, what happened in that situation? the pressure from the family was so intense that you weakened. Okay, even though you knew that perhaps you shouldn't do it. And it's all right in this room to say, oh, well, I would never do that, but you don't know what happens. You know, sometimes, and I've given a massive one about a pig tube, but sometimes it might be as simple as, oh, look, I've got a tablet over there, can you just help me take it? And in fact, they've got a bit of dementia, and in fact, that tablet was stopped 5 years ago, and it was in fact their wife's tablet you'd just given them. Now, it might be just something simple like that, or do you mind turning that switch off and you've turned off their alarm, but you didn't know that because that's in the other room. You know, so it can be very simple, but the idea is that we don't come out and we're smashing you all round. As I say, if we cause harm, then there are legal procedures we have to follow. But I shouldn't say 99, but more like 90% of the time, it's an error. And once we learn from it, we probably won't do it again. And let's take that error and make sure everybody knows about it so we don't repeat it. Okay? And sometimes we may have to put something in place for that family. Okay, so there's one family who the relative used to come and was shocking. So, you may have to ban that. Our people want to come if that relative's there. Or whatever, all right? Is that fairly clear? And the other thing is we actually want you to complain, right? Because if you complain, there's something wrong. So we actually want you to complain. That's through our innovation facilitators. Because what we don't want is, Andrew and Joanna, they're going, this job's, stuffed, and this is stuffed, and that's stuffed, and, nobody ever listens to us, blah, blah, blah. But nobody else knows. And then we become a bit toxic. So if there's something wrong, complain. And you know what? Probably, I reckon that you may even lead the fix in it. Okay. Behind the scenes, we're doing a lot on public health policy, continuing professional education. We've got a promise to ourselves that we don't know how we're going to do it, but we want to do paid continuing education. We don't, unlike some of our colleagues who just say you need your APRA registration and go and get it and do what we tell you to do it. We're very proud. How many CP days did we learn continuing professional education last year? 3?
Yeah, we try and do one sort of each term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They're the best days.
So because as you know, they're complete. If you're a business person, you wouldn't do it because it's a complete loss of money because there's no productivity. Well, I see productivity is that we've learned how to stick a catheter in if you've never learned how to do it, or how to change a peg tube or something like that. So again, that comes from the field, and so our CPs, we don't go, you need to know this. What we do is say, this is what our clientele are doing. This is what's been fed back to the innovation facilitators they put together the day. So it's hopefully relevant to the day. We do a lot of lobbying of pollies, which is a complete waste of time when you get into the sign. But but we have to tell them what we're doing. We try to get some funding because we did calculations and we're stopping around 90 hours of ambulance call-outs a week. And if you transfer that right through the entire system, it's $1.4 million. A week or a day? A week.
I think it was a week.
A week. Yeah, I didn't do the stats. I just thought them. I remember research shows 90% of stats are made up. So we tried to get some money out of them. We wanted $500,000 for the year, and they said we work outside the system, so they won't fund us. So and it's because it's new. We engage the community. So neighbourhood houses in a lot of manners. We provide talks and stuff like that and work with neighbourhood houses. In particular, because rural areas, neighbourhood houses are really big. In metropolitan, they're not as big. The clinics and, out of date there, it is a charity.
for referrals? Like, who do you?
So how we referred, at the moment we refer through community health. Community health and also program managers and support coordinators. A lot of word of mouth. A lot of word of mouth is, well, that's how we slowly expanded because we weren't advertising or anything. Word of mouth and trying to actually partner with people is the main ones. What we're trying to do is we've put Ash on and we want to get out into GP world. We want to get out. We've tried to do some work with Ambulance Victoria for the referral service to us, but that they've got a weird system. They can only do a statewide system, so they can't break it down into locality at the moment. So you either offer a statewide system or you offer nothing. So that's some weird things from referral. So most of it comes through really the NDIS and My Aged Care system at the moment. We do get private people, not many, and what we're hoping is as the charity evolves, what we can do is we can pick up people who are waiting for NDIS and My Aged Care and start supporting them. We can't at the moment. We've just done another palliative care where sadly the system fell down. For some reason the border of the health services go through the middle of Wood End and down the Romsey Road. And we tried, Mara can tell you the war stories later, tried to contact Bendigo, Melbourne, Kyneton, and they all refused to provide palliative care to this family. Yeah, because of the border. Bendigo was saying it's Melbourne, Melbourne was saying it wasn't, and you can tell the story later. And
That's where we stepped in though.
and in the end there was a family who were told take your mum to ED for palliative care, so we ended up doing the palliative care, but the system's so bad, they put in for emergency My Aged Care and was granted it, but then told they couldn't access it for 3 months or 6 months or something.
Yeah, for about 3 months.
And so they ended up
lost in the system.
yeah. So in the end, it's very sad because it cost quite a bit of money for them, but they were going to get that out of selling the parent house. But you know, at the moment, we would like to in the future, when we've got a good charity part, to say, well, we can fund this much, but we can't at the moment, because you can't have a nurse or a paramedic doing a night shift and say to them, well, thanks for doing the night shift, but we're not paying you. You know, because we've got to eat as well. So yeah, so that's some of the example of private we've been doing. Yeah.